Hey kids, this is Ivan. So, you've been reading this book, and this book is really doing it for you. It's got you hook, line, and sinker. Maybe it's the premise, maybe it's the themes in the book, maybe it's the setting, the characters, the story, whatever. Something about it has really got you drawn in, and you can't stop reading it. And if you haven't devoured it in one sitting, when you're not reading it, you think about it every once in a while. It really just fires your imagination. And so you read the book, and maybe it's a series, so maybe you find the other books in the series, but you end up reading them all. And at some point, the story's over. But it's not necessarily over for you because you keep thinking about it. Maybe it was a movie or a TV series instead of a book, but the same idea. You've watched all the sequels, you've watched the entire series, and now it's over. Maybe if it was really well done, every once in a while you've got those books or movies where they let you give you this idea that maybe it's not the end of the story. They kind of give you this glimpse that there's more that's going to go on, but it's not going to be a book or another show. It's just they kind of give you that little teaser to make you think about it, and so it works. You think about it. So that goes on, and you start to imagine what would it be like to be involved in that world with that premise, with these situations going on. And so maybe you daydream about it a little bit. And so everybody's got a book they're going to write one day, and maybe you consider writing a book about something like that, but most people never do. Well, what else could you do? Well, enter role-playing games. And we've all role-played a little bit, especially as kids. We all played things like cops and robbers or spacemen or whatever. We watched shows or read books, and we played with our friends, and usually shot each other and nobody died or whatever happened. But we've all done that in one way, shape, or form. So why would you do it now as an adult? Well, role-playing games offer some interesting and compelling ways to re-engage yourself with those worlds, with those premises, with those ideas. And no matter what kind of genre you're into, guaranteed there's a role-playing game about it. If you like westerns, there's role-playing games about that. It's not just all fantasy. If you like vampires, trust me, there's role-playing games about that. Zombie apocalypse, yeah, we got that too. Any kind of science fiction you can imagine, more space opera-ish like Star Wars, yeah, there's that. Swashbuckling, there's that too. The list goes on and on. You will find a role-playing game about just about anything. And multiples, so multiple different concepts, from the mundane to the truly bizarre. You'll find them. And so once you get involved with something like that, you can start to play well, I think what most people end up doing first is they end up kind of imagining, well, what would I do in these situations? What would I do in this world? As you start to assume the role of a character and explore like a world, while one player acts as the game master and kind of runs the world, you start to encounter situations. What would I do? How would I handle this? And then at some point, this magical switch goes off. That goes off for every role-playing, gamer in their career. Sometimes earlier, sometimes later, when you have this mental leap and you realize, it's not me. I'm not there. I'm playing the role of a character. I'm Jacques, the space captain, smuggler. Now, Jacques has his own motivations, his own personality, his own history. What would he do here? And then it becomes truly interesting because you are truly role-playing a different character. So you get to involve yourself with that concept, with that premise, in this world as one of these characters. Maybe it's not the one from the book or the movie that you liked. You could, I suppose, but you can play somebody else that's kind of like them. And what would they do in these situations? As novel situations present themselves, how would you handle that? And once you get over the kind of embarrassment where you sit down with another group of grown-ups and you all kind of admit that you like this stuff, these kind of stories, then you can actually sit down and commence the actual role-playing. And it's nothing to be really embarrassed about because these franchises that own some of these more popular stories, they're about zombie apocalypses and so vampires and fantasy and science fiction, they're huge. These people make a lot of money. It's popular. Trust me, just put on Netflix or whatever, and you'll realize this stuff is popular. So people watch this, people read this. So it's nothing to be embarrassed about. Once you get over that kind of little uncomfortability as a grown-up sitting around with other people, you can start to do this. And then, of course, you inevitably get to this point where I say, what you do in role-playing games for the most part is you declare your intent. I want to do this. I'm going to go over here, and my intention is to do this. And at some point, it becomes important whether or not you succeed or fail. Well, who gets to decide whether you succeed or fail? And when we were kids, we did a pretty lousy job at it. You say, I shot you, no, you didn't. And we shout back and forth until somebody shouted the most. But now we use some kind of resolution mechanics, and every game does it a little bit differently. And some of them use consensus and cards and all kinds of things. But for the most part, what you'll most commonly encounter are dice. And you roll the dice. There's sometimes it's funny shaped dice, sometimes it's six-sided dice, and these will let you know, did you succeed or did you fail? What happened? And so it becomes like a friend of mine said one time when I introduced him to role-playing games. Oh, this is like playing make-believe and gambling all at once. I was like, well, that's brilliant. I'm going to steal that line. So I just did. I think it's not the first time I've stolen that line. So that's why role-playing. That's what draws people like myself to it, because we don't have to just put that book down. Close the book, turn off the movie for the last time, turn off the series after we binge watched it, and never go back to it again, or never go back to that premise or concept or idea. We don't just have to live in it daydreaming while we're at work or on the drive someplace wondering about it. We can actually sit down with other people and spend a few hours engaging in what if. What it would be like. What it would be like to be me there, or more interesting a lot of times is what would it be like to be this other person? What would they do in these situations? And so that's why role-playing. I wasn't going to actually do a video about this. I was thinking this was going to be a follow-up video to the video I did yesterday about the premises and why that attracts me to certain role-playing games. But as I thought about today, this kind of topic sort of suggested itself. And so I decided to make a video in this vein instead. So there you have it. That's why role-playing. What about you? Why do you role-play? Have you role-played ever? Are you watching this because one of your friends is trying to convince you to do this crazy thing? Or are you just one of my fans that loves to watch everything I make? Have a good one.